It all began with an ambitious purpose, a purpose driven by passion, dedication, and a desire to answer what is perhaps the most important question of our time. What can we do to save endangered animal species on a global scale? The answer? To awaken the world to the efforts of its most accomplished animal conservationists. The people working in all parts of our planet to save wild things in wild places. So, in 2004, the Indianapolis Prize was established as the world's leading award for animal conservation, created to honor conservation heroes with a prize worthy of their efforts, as well as a platform from which to promote their cause. What began as a dream is now a dynamic force in the fight to save animal species everywhere. These change makers show us that with passion, science, and cooperation, we can safeguard biodiversity and build a sustainable future for all. Their work reminds us that we all have a role to play in healing our planet, and there is still time to act if we summon the will. The Indianapolis Prize has grown to become a movement, an expanding network of conservation heroes, scientists, and wildlife ambassadors who teach us that true conservation is not just about saving animal species, it's about instilling humanity with empathy, curiosity, and a sense of wonder for the living planet we all call home. These are the people making a difference. They will not accept that we are powerless. They are working to provide us with choices so we may define our own future. This is our moment. This is where we come together and learn what we can do to save wild things and wild places.
This is the Indianapolis Prize.
I'm Scott Swan at the Indianapolis Zoo. During the next hour, we'll be sharing the stories and the mission of the Indianapolis Prize with you. Some of the honorees have changed laws and founded organizations to protect animal welfare. Their work aimed at helping preserve these species and our planet for future generations. The prize was created by the Indianapolis Zoological Society as part of its commitment to conservation. Indianapolis Prize winner Pablo Borboroglu, along with the other finalists, were honored recently at a gala at the J.W. Marriott in downtown Indianapolis. The event was co-hosted by Ann Thompson, the chief environmental affairs correspondent for NBC News, alongside motivational speaker, influencer, and co-founder of the Big Blue and You, Danny Washington. It was a night to celebrate and recognize these champions for our planet. Welcome inside the penguin enclosure here at the Indianapolis Zoo. These little guys mean everything to 2023 Indianapolis Prize winner Pablo Borboroglu. He's known as Poppy. His personality and his passion for collaboration have had a profound impact on penguins all around the world.
Chicos.
I've never seen anyone so in love with his job like Poppy. I would call him the Jacques Cousteau of penguins.
When I hear Poppy, first thing comes to mind to me are penguins. Second thing is a huge smile and a big dose of inspiration and hope.
Poppy's like a penguin in a human body. Yes. He's very enthusiastic and he works hard to achieve his goals.
There you go. Up to your place. Excellent. Thank you for your contribution. The first memory that I have about a connection with nature was my grandmother. She used to tell me the stories when she visited penguins 100 years ago in Patagonia.
But then I came to this area and I was shocked because in those years, the 80s, 40,000 penguins died per year due to oil spills. I used to pick up oil penguins on the beach to rehabilitate them and then release them back into the wild. I decided to pursue an academic career to have more tools to help them better. That's the way I would define myself.
Dr. Pablo Garcia Borboroglu, or Poppy, has dedicated his life to studying them as a scientist as well as a compassionate friend of the species, bringing his knowledge to the world in his own unique way. Over half of the 18 penguin species are listed as vulnerable or endangered by the IUCN. Poppy founded the Global Penguin Society in 2008 with the mission of creating science-based conservation and education programs to support all penguin species globally.
GPS was created because we saw the opportunity to work together with a lot of colleagues, like a network, to promote the conservation of all the penguin species on the planet through 3 areas: science, protection of habitat, and education. We work really hard to generate a conservation culture. So you have a holistic approach. We protect the oceans, and we also protect human beings, because the oceans are critical for the survival of all the planet.
Poppy really represents a paradigm shift in how conservation is being done. In terms of an individual working to save a species globally, he can understand deeply the cultural aspects, he can understand the needs of the local people, and then he can communicate those to the politicians and the government in local terms.
That human dimension aspect recognizes that saving animals, it really is about working with the people that affect the landscape and the future of those populations. He just conveys the interconnections between us as people and penguins.
Another vital conservation strategy Global Penguin Society has employed is working with the national government to establish marine protected areas in key penguin migration corridors. Many penguin species migrate thousands of miles every year. Anywhere they go, environmental change, overfishing, pollution, and coastal development are their biggest threats. Through cutting-edge innovation, Global Penguin Society has uncovered more about penguin breeding, feeding, and migration routes than we have previously known.
Before these areas were created, these penguins were at risk on land when they came on shore, as well as when they went out into the ocean to forage for food. And the work that Poppy's been able to lead and facilitate really speaks for itself when we see the number of breeding pairs that have increased over the past 20, 30 years.
What he's done is taught the government and scientists here and around the world how to protect these species. He's the person that people listen to.
The global impact of Poppy's work has led to increased protection and management of penguin colonies and their habitat throughout Argentina, Africa, and Australia. It's estimated that Poppy and the Global Penguin Society has helped to protect 2.5 million penguins worldwide, with populations increasing in each area that they've touched.
You have the best nest in the colony, I guess. Passion is the energy that makes everything possible. And for me, it's the only way to accomplish a goal. Penguins are the mission of my life. I know it. I owe penguins everything.
This is amazing. We've never seen so many penguins at the same time coming back from the ocean. This is like a migration of penguins. I've been working with penguins for 34 years and never been able to see this. This is unbelievable. It's like being with my grandmother again. This is one of the most amazing wildlife spectacles that a human can witness. This is why it's so important to educate the next generations, because through the next generations you can have a bigger impact on conservation for our planet. Sometimes life is just amazing.
I got a chance to talk with Poppy when he came to Indianapolis for the gala. You'll see our conversation in our next half hour. These are the orangutans. This is my friend Azy hanging out inside. Hey, Azy. Borboroglu Mary Galdegas has risked her life protecting these animals. And as you're about to see, she has worked tirelessly to protect vulnerable populations.
When I was a child, I would lie in our backyard underneath these huge oak trees and wonder, where did we come from? Who are we? And of course, the great apes are our closest living relatives in the animal kingdom, and so I was very much drawn to them, animals who are very closely related to us. When I went to UCLA, I met Louis Leakey and told him what I wanted to do. I wanted to study orangutans. He was a great paleoanthropologist, archaeologist, and he was already a living legend. I knew that he would help me. Borneo was one of the last wild places left on this earth. It was very much isolated from the rest of the world. I couldn't believe it. It was like a dream. I was there to do science. I was there to do research on orangutan life histories. But I also knew that they were in trouble.
Much of what we know about orangutans can be credited to Dr. Borboroglu Mary Galdegas. For over 50 years, Dr. Galdegas has conducted groundbreaking research and conservation efforts focused on critically endangered orangutans in the jungles of Indonesian Borneo. Through her organization, Orangutan Foundation International, she's dedicated herself to saving rainforest habitats as well as the rehabilitation and release of hundreds of orphan orangutans. Her early studies on orangutan behavior and ecology forever changed the way we thought of our close, wild relatives.
I was following wild orangutans by myself, day in, day out. So I documented a lot of things that people didn't know about orangutans. I was learning that they are semi-solitary. The males fought each other for access to females. I learned what they eat. I was elated.
In the 1970s, Dr. Galdegas rose to fame as one of the faces of the new animal conservation movement. Along with Jane Goodall and Diane Fossey, she became known as one of Dr. Louis Leakey's trimates. Protection of the rainforest meant constant battles against poachers, logging interests, and the planting of palm oil fields. Galdegas was becoming internationally renowned, but the fight on the ground was anything but glamorous.
Dr. G is very soft-spoken, but the life she has led in trying to save these orangutans is anything but soft. She almost died of malaria. She's been kidnapped. She's had death threats, and I don't know of anybody who's gone through quite as much as that.
You get a certain amount of, you might call it celebrity, but the celebrity doesn't protect you against the illegal loggers and the palm oil plantation concessionaires. I was struggling against an industry that was making billions of dollars. It did sometimes come to physical violence.
The major impact of palm oil on orangutans is that it basically decimates their home. Because palm oil is grown in massive monocropped areas, the forest is cut down and they no longer have anywhere to live.
Borboroglu has a brilliant and perfect mix of tenacity and also great diplomacy when dealing with elected officials. And she's accomplished so much in terms of orangutans and many other species protected where the orangutans live and thrive.
At the heart of her extraordinary lifelong mission is Camp Leakey, her remote field station deep in the Tanjung Putin National Park. Here, Dr. Galdegas and her team continue the vital conservation work she began over a half-century ago.
Jelas, Dr. Birute itu memang menginspirasi untuk banyak orang. Saya berpikir kalau tidak ada Dr. Birute, mungkin orangutan sudah punah.
Well, I think her work is so important, not just to save the orangutans, but to save all of us. I think she's a hero every bit as much as Diane Fossey and Jane Goodall.
The love between the orangutans and Dr. G is just, I can't find words for it. It's just so special. They know that she is helping them. They know it.
We need orangutans because we need nature. We need orangutans to teach us how we are human. They show us where we've been. They also help us understand where we're going.
Her decades of work built this foundation for the next generation of conservationists, and that would include Fanny Cornejo. She is the inaugural winner of the Emerging Conservationist Award. Now, she may be young, but her efforts are already having a lasting impact.
Parece que son dos que están ahí juntitos. Those are their contact calls. So that's one juvenile female, two little cuties. They're like on top of us. I have always had like this close tie to nature. Both my parents were geologists, engineers, so I spent a lot of my childhood traveling through the different ecosystems of Peru.
From a young age, Fanny Cornejo has worked through the South American country of Peru to protect the country's vast ecosystem. In 2007, Fanny's mother, Fanny Fernandez Milo, founded the conservation organization Yucawasi, meaning House of the Forest, in the indigenous language of Quechuan. Fanny worked alongside her mom, first dedicating herself to an endangered species found only in Peru, the yellow-tailed woolly monkey.
The yellow-tailed woolly monkey to Peru is what the giant panda is to China. And people wouldn't really realize that we had that species.
When I saw her, I thought, wow, this is exactly what we want in the Peru, because we need young people to just mobilize to protect nature and especially get passionate about primates.
Cornejo and her mother built Yucawasi from the ground up. After her mother's untimely passing in 2015, Fanny found herself at the helm of a growing conservation organization.
I focused a lot after her death into getting Yucawasi to the next level. Over here, we have a protected area that belongs to a campesino community. We want to channel all of this energy and funding to be able to work in conservation education and research.
Cornejo and Yucawasi partnered with the regional governments in the Amazonas to establish the yellow-tailed woolly monkey protection and conservation area. This 560,000-acre protected area safeguards critical habitats for the monkeys. Cornejo is a staunch advocate for endangered species in her home country, developing programs to raise awareness, such as a commemorative coin campaign and working directly with more than 20 communities across Peru, engaging them to monitor wildlife populations, generating much-needed income through ecotourism initiatives.
El impacto durante todos estos años que viene Fanny realizando el trabajo en nuestra comunidad es de un claro ejemplo ver en nuestras socias cómo ellas pueden elaborar sus propios trabajos y de esa manera pueden empoderarse y también independizarse, y sin Fanny todo esto no sería posible. Definitivamente es una persona que admiro y es un ejemplo que siempre yo lo voy a seguir.
La empatía, como decía hace un rato, la empatía y la energía conllevan a motivación. Yo creo que nuestro trabajo, la manera como Fanny nos lidera, hace que las personas piensen que algo les va a traer una solución, pero al mismo tiempo lo hacen con cariño.
You meet people that are as passionate as I am. You meet people that, are working really hard to get things to change. That keeps me going, and, there is hope. We can achieve things.
And we are with Fanny Cornejo. You are all about these yellow-tailed woolly monkeys, aren't you?
Yes, this fantastic animal that only is found in Peru has been a major force driving a lot of the different decisions I've made throughout my career. It is critically endangered, so definitely a lot of attention and a lot of efforts were needed and are still needed to be able to prevent this species from going extinct.
So when you were first researching these yellow-tailed woolly monkeys, you didn't necessarily see them that easily, but now you're able to get pretty close, aren't you?
Yeah, at the beginning it was really rough. Let's remember that this is a species that was thought to be extinct for many years. It was rediscovered in the 70s, and because of different situations in Peru, people didn't really hear about it for a couple of decades afterwards. So when I first started doing the studies, we didn't really know where it still could be found. We didn't know if the size of the population or what were the items that these monkeys were eating. So a lot of my early years were just hiking mountains for days trying to find populations of yellow-tailed woolly monkey and documenting their existence. Nowadays, fortunately, we're working with a lot of different communities in the northern Andes of Peru. So there are some places where even local communities are monitoring the populations of yellow-tailed woolly monkeys. So now we can see them and enjoy their presence.
So as the winner of the Emerging Conservationist, what will this help you do in terms of your work in protecting these animals and the species there?
This has been an amazing opportunity. The platform that the Indianapolis Prize is providing me has been something that not even my wildest dreams could have thought. In terms of visibility, in terms of helping us reach out a larger audience, one of the key things that we need to do to save Andean bears and to save yellow-tailed woolly monkeys is to get everyone to be involved.
What are some of the things, Fanny, that we can do at our own home to help conservation efforts?
Well, one thing that everyone can do is to first get educated. There are fantastic places, like here at the Indianapolis Zoo, for example. One key thing is to understand nature. Right now, it feels like our current society has this broken relationship with nature that we need to mend. We need to really start thinking about where does the water that we drink every day is coming from, where are the different products that we're consuming. You can begin by making the right choices as a consumer, wondering where does the cup of coffee I'm drinking this morning came from, or this delicious chocolate that I'm enjoying in wintertime, where did it come from? Did it come from the deforestation of the Amazon? Did it come from communities that are being empowered by conservation actions? Asking yourself these questions is really important. And then you, of course, can donate your time, you can donate your resources, you can find different ways of contribute, you can also volunteer. So really, there's so much that we can do, and the world needs that right now.
The Emerging Conservationist Award winning Fanny Cornejo. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Dr. Rob Shoemaker is the president and CEO of the Indianapolis Zoo. And Dr. Rob, your conservation efforts go around the world, and this map really talks about that, doesn't it?
Scott, you're exactly right. So every year, we distribute funds around the globe to individual conservationists who are doing really extraordinary work. You can see a representation of it here. This is just for this year. All of these projects will change next year when we go through the process of figuring out what projects we'll support and how much money we'll send to them. But that's something that we do every single year that all of our colleagues can count on.
And you've got a Saving Species Challenge that is very exciting.
We do, and it is super exciting. This is the first time that we've tried this. We are investing $1 million in a single project. And the idea is we want to identify a project that's working with an individual species that's at risk, and we want the funds that we provide them to move that species up one level in terms of being better in the wild. So we want to have a measurable way of knowing that our investment has increased their chances of survival in the wild. We are very, very optimistic, and we're very excited about this project.
These are great conservation efforts, Dr. Rob. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Still to come, We'll introduce you to the rest of the Indianapolis Prize finalists and this year's Jane Alexander Global Wildlife Ambassador, who's helping save species one shutter click at a time.
Welcome to the in-between season, when the calendar changes from summer to fall, and a single day can be a crazy mix of both. Chilly mornings that'll have you bundling up the kids, leading to warm, short-sleeve afternoons. Only one weather team can help you plan your day and prep for your weekend, with hour-by-hour temperature tracking and a heads up on that storm that could slow your roll when you need to know exactly what the weather holds in store. Count on Chuck, Angela, and 13 News, the news leader.
These are the macaws. They're in the forest area of the Indianapolis Zoo. They are so colorful, and boy, are they loud too. Some of these species are protected by Mexico's Act for Endangered Species. This includes protections for 4,000 different plants and animal species. It's all the work of Indianapolis Prize finalist Gerardo Ceballos. He's also known as the guardian of the jaguars.
Gerardo. Hola, Panchito.
¿Cómo estás?
Qué gusto.
El gusto es mío.
We put these colors on the dogs so we can follow them. We track the jaguars with them. Mi querido Charlie, por favor, entiende que estás en televisión, sí, entonces tranquilo.
Cámara de trabajo fenomenal como siempre.
Muy bien. What I love most is to be outside. I really love to go to wild places to see mammals and birds in the wild. And those are the howler monkeys. Good. This drives basically my appetite to save this species and these habitats, and this keep me going.
Gerardo is one of the most important conservationist scientists in the world. You are drawn to him, and you are drawn to listening to him. He knows what he's talking about. You're going to have a good time. You're going to laugh a lot.
I will compare him with Jane Goodall, with David Attenborough. The thing about Gerardo is he can make a small thing bigger.
He's a field biologist. He's a mentor. He teaches students. He's a fantastic communicator. He's managed to protect huge areas of Mexico, which is a biodiversity hotspot. Gerardo is one of the people most responsible for keeping it a wonderful place for biodiversity.
Dr. Gerardo Ceballos has dedicated his life to protecting Mexico's richly diverse wild places. In 1991, he helped create the country's first Endangered Species Act, a landmark that protected over 4,000 species and 1.5% of the country's landmass. Working primarily in the Calakmul Biosphere Reserve, a World Heritage Site, Ceballos and his team have helped the jaguar population grow from 4,000 in 2010 to over 5,000 of the big cats as of 2023. After being declared a reserve in 1989, Ceballos worked for the continued expansion of the land. As of 2023, Calakmul reached nearly 1.6 million hectares, making it the largest protected tropical area in Central America.
Oh, wow, that's great. This is one of our jaguars. The camera traps is one of our basic tools to develop conservation measures. We choose jaguars for several reasons. On the one hand, in Mexico, jaguar has been very important for the culture since prehistoric times. There is an estimate that we're saving more than 70,000 species of plant animals and microorganisms. If you protect jaguars, you protect the forest, and by doing that, we're saving the whole thing.
Countless species still face the prospect of extinction throughout Central and South America, where environmental change, large-scale agriculture, and development continue to threaten its rich biodiversity. Ceballos worked with Global Conservation to create the National Jaguar Conservation Alliance, which coordinates ecological, political, economic, and social entities toward the conservation of the jaguar and its habitat.
Studies on basic science become applied science on the one hand, but also, like this, become public policy.
He has helped to create several reserves, and that's a work that should last probably 100 years and will benefit thousands of people.
I respect the fact that he is a really brilliant scientist who's also a brilliant human being and a really nice guy.
The ultimate goal for all of us is to protect all ecosystems still left in the planet. I'm still hopeful because there is still time. We are basically facing what I think is the most important challenge that humanity has faced. How do I keep optimistic in the face of so many challenges? It's hard to tell, but it's something I think you are born with, you know?
This is the new International Chimpanzee Complex. It's set to open Memorial Day weekend of 2024. And when it is finished, it's going to be really cool. It's going to have both indoor and outdoor areas, and it's going to be connected to that overhead trail system. I want to introduce you now to Indianapolis Prize finalist Christoph Bosch, who has spent his entire life saving chimps and their habitat.
I think I am like every human on this planet. The chimpanzees are our closest living relative. They look sometimes so incredibly similar to us. And, you know, they behave like humans. They use tools. So there is a fascination because when you look at the behavior of the chimpanzees, you somewhere see something about us there. Fresh algae.
Christoph has been a leader in chimpanzee conservation in West Africa for decades. His passion for conservation is well known, and he has been instrumental in creating national parks as a tool for permanent protection of the environment and the chimpanzee populations in these countries.
He inspires you just by his passion about nature, his passion about chimpanzees, his passion about ecosystems. If somebody can love nature this much, then there must be a lot of value in it.
Dr. Christoph Bosch is an explorer and pioneer. He's also a warrior for one of humankind's closest living relatives, the chimpanzee. In 1973, Bosch studied Rwandan mountain gorillas under the legendary Dr. Dian Fossey. Inspired by the experience, he dedicated himself to understanding the behavior and habitats of chimpanzees.
When you start, I had no idea how to find the chimpanzees. There is no path, there is no way. You can lose your way in a second. They all are extremely scared of humans. So when we spent our first 2 years in the forest, we only saw black shadows running away.
At Tai National Park in the West African country of Ivory Coast, Dr. Bosch created the Pan-African Chimpanzee Program. Over time, Bosch successfully habituated a group of these chimpanzees, leading to a groundbreaking understanding of the rich complexities of chimpanzee culture. It also led to a grim discovery of the perils facing the species.
There were illegal loggings going on everywhere in Africa. The forest is being destroyed, cut. And that, made it very clear to me that you can't be just in your ivory tower as a scientist. You need also to consider what is going on with nature.
Deforestation has reduced chimpanzee populations in Western Africa to critical levels. So in 2000, Dr. Bosch created the Wild Chimpanzee Foundation, which works to protect chimpanzees and other wildlife by preserving their habitats. To date, it has established protected lands in Ivory Coast, Liberia, and Guinea, engaging policymakers as well as local people at every step.
What species is this one?
C'est quelle espèce ça?
We are working with the farmers. We are also showing them how to do it because it is very important for the farmer to understand why it is important to leave trees on the farm.
This has been a driving thinking in our project to keep this coexistence alive. working with the local communities, because otherwise it will never work.
The Moyen-Bafing region in Guinea is home to the world's largest remaining chimpanzee population. While human activity remains the biggest threat to their survival, Bosch and the Wild Chimpanzee Foundation continue to push the model of expanding national parks in West Africa, creating a sustainable and peaceful coexistence with humans and nature.
The only way to improve things is to continue to fight. I feel actually a debt toward the chimpanzees. There's a lot of hope. The hope is that we have national parks everywhere and that it will be a source of well-being for the whole of humanity.
Let's get our stuff out. You can carry that. Professionals are gonna see this truck and they're gonna say, oh my God, what a hack. Off we go. The majority of the animals we shoot have never been documented well. Some have never been photographed alive. And oh, there she is. The name of the game on all these shoots is fast.
Hey, Pebbles.
We have seconds. We don't have minutes. We have seconds. And so it's like,
Sorry about the poop.
that's okay, that happens. You know, I've taken pictures since I was a kid. I worked for National Geographic. For their magazine, I did stories in the field. People, wildlife, you name it. All that globe-trotting stopped when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. And during the course of that year, I came to the Lincoln Children's Zoo and I asked if I could photograph animals on plain black and white backgrounds. And then I photographed, you know, everything at the zoo. Because I'm a type A guy, it's a problem. And then I thought, I wonder what it would take to do every animal in captivity around the world. I thought, you know, if Kathy gets better and I go back on the road, that's for me. And she's fine today. Grab that for me and move the tail slightly back. Atticus here, the Chinese water dragon, is sitting up, allowing me to get close. Couldn't be better. This is better than 99% of my shoots, actually. I just thought it'd be good to document these little animals and captivate people and get them to see in these animals what I see, which is they are works of art.
When you look into the eyes of many of the animals that he's photographed, it's better than a Rembrandt, okay? Because it's just, some of them just pull you in. And you go, this is a remarkable creature.
This is really our chance to connect with people. We tell a good story, and 220 million people or more see each post on Instagram. There's a real opportunity to move the needle in ways that we've never been able to before. So I think of this as the golden age of conservation.
He's a global servant. He's a global inspiration. He's a global hero when it comes to preserving and wanting to protect wildlife.
I get inspired every time I go out to work. I have this responsibility. It's a big honor. It's a huge honor. I mean, there's no way I can stop. It is the story of life on Earth.
And we're with Joel Sartori. Joel, congratulations on your award.
Thank you very much.
What is it about photographing at-risk animals that attracted you to this?
Well, so many of them are going to vanish without us ever having met them. They're animals that live in soil or muddy water or high up in trees, and they're not tigers and they're not giraffes. They're just things that are nondescript, and yet they keep the world together. So the photo arc's a way to show that off and show what these animals are and that they're intelligent and beautiful and works of art in their own way.
What are you hearing from people about the work that you've done for the photo arc?
Well, it's easy to digest, I guess, and it's easy to share. It comes along at a good time when everybody's got attention deficit disorder. We're bombarded with so much stuff every day that these pictures either resonate or they don't, and eye contact's the big thing. We use studio lighting and black and white backgrounds to bring out true colors and to eliminate all size comparison. So the mouse is as big as an elephant in these pictures. They're all the same size. And with eye contact, we can see there's great intelligence there, that they're worth saving, you know. So much of our time now, it seems, when I say our, I mean me and everybody else, we're spent consumed with politics and sports and who's got the cheapest price for a gallon of gas. When reality is that we're driving most species away, or a lot of them away. So the photo arc is a bit of a trick. Use charismatic animals and not so charismatic ones. We photograph rare or common, big or small. Use those to get people into the tent of conservation so we can begin to have that conversation. Like, here's why these are important. Here's why you should care. If we save them, we save ourselves in the process. We have to have them or we won't make it.
Congratulations on all your work.
Thank you very much.
That's Joel Sartori. I'm hanging out with Tombi. She is a 47-year-old African elephant. She weighs 8,000 pounds. And check this out. She's ready for her close-up. Watch Tombi.
Open.
Look at Tombi pose. You're beautiful and talented. That is great. Well, we are here to introduce the next finalist for the Indianapolis Prize. Gladys Kalima-Zukusoka is a wildlife veterinarian who works to promote conservation by teaching that humans and wildlife can actually coexist.
I did not grow up in the forest. I was a city girl. I grew up in Kampala, the capital city of Uganda. Kalema is the name of my dad, my late father, who was a senior cabinet minister in the previous government. He was unfortunately one of the first victims who was abducted and murdered when President Idi Amin came into power. I was only 2 years old when he died, so I don't remember him. But I did know that he really cared about Uganda, and I wanted to continue his legacy as I developed a passion for wildlife.
From an early age, Dr. Gladys Kalima-Zukusoka dreamed of being a veterinarian. After time spent studying abroad, she decided to start her career at home in Uganda. She immersed herself in the country's vast forest network, where a grim discovery of declining gorilla populations set her path.
When I saw that there were very few animals in the park, maybe there were about 300 gorillas, I thought, well, maybe I should be a vet who also works with wildlife. I didn't know how, but I was determined to do something about it and at least have a career that can help to bring the wildlife back.
Dr. Kalima-Zukusoka decided to use her veterinary degree in a way never before seen in Uganda, becoming the Uganda Wildlife Authority first veterinary officer. Gladys soon recognized that the biggest threat to gorilla populations were caused by local people who share the forest, poaching, deforestation, and the transmission of human diseases to the species. Kalima-Zukusoka pioneered a new holistic approach.
I think to myself, maybe I need to set up an NGO that focuses on these issues. We were able to launch conservation through public health by bringing together wildlife health, human public health, in order to achieve conservation. We're collecting fecal samples from their night nests, and we're trying to see whether they're healthy, whether they have any parasites, bacteria, or viruses.
When we started conservation through public health, health organizations and conservation organizations were working in silos. Now we're bringing them together to address issues around sustainable development goals, life on land.
She has been very, very astute in coming down to the level of local communities, understanding and appreciating their needs and problems. It is powerful, They identify with her easily, and they tell you their challenges, and you translate them into action.
That's how we started out, to keep the gorillas healthy from human diseases.
I'm looking for parasite eggs.
We held health education workshops with the local communities. We added family planning onto it. We don't force anything on someone. It's by telling them that it's a good thing to do, and then they set it up themselves in a simple way. We pay the owner of this farm a good price for good coffee. The farmers are happy, and they know that it's about protecting the gorillas.
Thanks to Dr. Kalima Zukusoka's efforts, the estimated population of mountain gorillas in Buwindi impenetrable forest has doubled over the past 25 years, from an estimated 300 gorillas in the late 90s to nearly 600 today. The success of her One Health approach has transformed Buwindi impenetrable forest from one of the poorest regions of Uganda into a thriving ecotourism hub, providing jobs for locals as guides and rangers and generating revenue to fund community development.
Everybody wins. The animals win, the communities win. The impact is huge and has created increased population of gorillas.
When I think of her work in conservation, consistently for 20 years coming up with new solutions, balancing all that, and very intelligent, and using it for the good of the people.
She is a global conservation leader, and I think her next step will be expanding this model to other countries in and around protected areas in Africa.
I would say that my dad, I think, would be very proud because I've continued his legacy of making Uganda develop, and through my passion for wildlife, it's putting Uganda back on the map. When I'm out there in nature, I feel happy and joyful, and I feel refreshed and ready to continue to try and make a difference and make the world a better place.
We're with Dr. Rob outside the brand new exhibit entrance here at the Indianapolis Zoo. This is beautiful.
Thank you, Scott. We love it. So we opened a brand new visitor services center, modern, convenient, efficient. Our visitors love it. And this fantastic new entrance as you begin your zoo experience, it really announces that you have arrived. You're at the Indianapolis Zoo, beautiful silhouette of a number of the animals in our collection here. And this fantastic gate with our very welcoming guest services staff that take you right into the first moment at the zoo, which is our beautiful gardens. And I would love to walk you through, if you have a little time to walk through the gardens today.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay.
We love this experience in our gardens. It's absolutely spectacular. And this is where people begin their zoo visit. They come in, they see the incredible horticulture, the incredible plant life, the diversity of species here. A couple of things that are fantastic. Initially we thought, well, a lot of people might blow through the gardens and head right on to something else. But they're not, and we love that. They're spending huge amounts of time out here, both in our wedding garden, around the pools, in all of the side gardens that we have, and of course the beautiful conservatory that's full of butterflies during the spring, summer, and early fall. So it has turned into a wonderful experience for people. And we know they're excited to see animals when they get to the zoo. So we have our ambassador animals here in the gardens as well. So you can come in, enjoy the spectacular views, the spectacular plants and flowers, but also meet some ambassador animals when you come here today. Today, by the way, one of our cockatoos out here is Rainy. Rainy's out surveying. It's early morning, just surveying the crowds as they start to show up today. But that's the kind of experience people are having every day. It's terrific.
Welcome to the oceans. This place is near and dear to Indianapolis Prize finalist Karen Eckert. She works to protect endangered sea turtles, making sure they have a safe place to call home.
¿Qué tan lejos se encuentra? Ok,
Okay, the turtle is very cool. What we're going to do, because the turtle
right now, this is the most important part of the process, right? These are when the eggs are laid. There's a lot of respect and softness that goes along with all of this data collection, which is also really important, and you can see the younger generation doing that brilliantly.
Karen Eckert has devoted her life to protecting one of the ocean's most ancient mariners, the sea turtle. For over 40 years, she's worked as an advocate, educator, and leading expert on these gentle giants. Eckert found her initial inspiration for nature exploring the forests and lakes of her home state of Minnesota with her mother, also a passionate naturalist.
I always wanted to be a biologist. You know, I always loved the way that the world was put together and the challenges that the world faced.
In the early 1980s, worldwide sea turtle populations were in serious decline, facing threats from poaching, habitat loss, fisheries bycatch, and more. There was little coordinated effort to organize conservation across international boundaries. Eckert and her husband Scott were fresh out of college and looking to make a difference. Eckert took the reins of Widecast, a fledgling group of conservation volunteers working in a few areas of the Caribbean.
There was just this Wild West mentality, and we thought we can do this. And if we can solve this in one country, we can solve it in 45 countries. I just started visiting countries and just having a conversation.
The science of sea turtle biology was in its infancy. Here you had two very young, fired up young biologists, and she literally built the program from the ground up.
One country and territory at a time, Eckert expanded the network. Today, the wider Caribbean Sea Turtle Conservation Network, or Widecast, connects over 2,000 sea turtle experts, volunteers, educators, and government agencies across over 40 nations and territories throughout the wider Caribbean region. Widecast spearheads grassroots conservation and research programs, collaborates with local communities and governments, and provides a conduit of information, allowing each country to develop tailored solutions to mitigate the threats to sea turtles who know no boundary.
They develop policies to develop law, for example, how to deal with light pollution, how to deal with development on the beach. We have to adapt it to our community.
The biggest threat is urban development. The sea turtles need the beaches to reproduce. You know, it's part of their life cycle to lay the eggs there. So we have to manage a way that people can coexist with this sea turtle.
For me, Widecast is a culture. We pass all of this value, all of this culture to the new ones.
The network itself is the magic. The idea that we have stayed together for decades, often with the same people at the helm, I think provides a model for conservation and influence.
So do you guys have any questions about them? In Puerto Rico, they're absolutely protected. So she's not...
Karen has always been super dedicated to the idea of making the world a better place. Her ability to actually put into effect change has been remarkable. And that's been her magic.
You ask yourself, what am I actually trying to do? There are only 7 species of sea turtle in the world, and we have rising populations for all of them. Nobody would have thought that that was possible back in the 80s and 90s. And that's the answer.
Here we have the perfection of 100 million years of evolution. I think one of the things I'm most proud of is how we have changed the way that the Caribbean looks at its marine resources. It's when these animals come out of the ocean and right to you, doing their important work. You just feel like you should be doing your important work as well. And that every day we do as much as we can to ensure that they see the next day safely.
This is McKenna, the youngest giraffe at the Indianapolis Zoo. This little girl is 4 years old and 10 feet tall. You know, the Indianapolis Prize began with a question 17 years ago. What more can be done to help save endangered species and their habitats? The answer ended up becoming the Indianapolis Prize. It's designed to help conservation efforts with significant financial assistance and other support programs. The winner receives $250,000 for their efforts, and each finalist gets $50,000, all of which will go a long way to support conservation around the world. Pablo Borboroglu is the 9th recipient of the Indianapolis Prize. You may not know the names of the winners, but their work has been life-changing for dozens of species. Here's a look at a small portion of their incredible achievements. Amanda Vincent is known as the savior of seahorses for her work to protect the marine creatures and their habitats. The work of Russ Mittermeier has protected hundreds of species and millions of acres of critical habitat around the world. Carl Jones is credited with saving birds, reptiles, and mammals from the brink of extinction. Patricia Wright rediscovered a lemur, thought to be extinct, and discovered a new lemur species. Steve Amstrup helped protect polar bears under the Endangered Species Act. Ian Douglas Hamilton pioneered GPS tracking techniques that are critical in elephant research and conservation. George Schaller is considered the founding father of modern wildlife conservation, working with giant pandas, mountain gorillas, and lions. And the first winner of the Indianapolis Prize, George Archibald, is credited with preserving the world's 15 crane species and their wetland habitats. And we're with the winner of the Indianapolis Prize, Pablo Borboroglu. Congratulations. What does this feel like to be the prize winner?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm so honored and grateful to receive this award. I mean, it's like touching the sky for me, because it's really very important for our goal in conservation. No? It is legitimating the work that we've been doing for so long. I've been working on penguins for 35 years so far. So, and also because it's coming from another country. So sometimes when we are recognized in other countries, they pay attention in our places, you know. And also, like right now, it's a great opportunity to talk about penguins, to talk about oceans, to talk about the things that are important for the humans in the future.
So many of us are fans of penguins anyway, but you've studied them for more than 30 years. What fascinates you most about penguins?
I think I admire them a lot because they're very brave and determined, and they're very tough, you know, but they still need help to cope with the main threats they are facing now. Because penguins, the problem with them is that they face threats in the ocean, but also on land.
What will the Indianapolis Prize enable you to do in the future to protect penguins even more?
So one of the things that we are doing is creating more protected areas, but one of the things that we do is we don't just launch them and leave them to become paper parks. We work together with the governments, we fund the processes, and we design the management plans and make sure that they are enforced in really, you know, so they really are useful for conservation. So we want to create more protected areas, and also some penguins, they cross boundaries when they are migrating. So we are also paying attention to the legislation that is needed to protect penguins when they cross those international boundaries. On top of that, we are also working to minimize some harmful activities for penguins, like oil development plants that are happening right now in Argentina, and we are very concerned about that, or it could be some harmful fisheries in some areas. So we are also helping to assess all the 18 species of penguins to determine what species are in danger, what are vulnerable, or critically in danger. Because right now we are having an avian flu outbreak on all the planet. So after that, we are going to reassess all the species because they are impacting. Penguins are being impacted by this. We want to expand even more our education program, you know. And we're also thinking about protecting the land because we've been paying attention a lot to the ocean, but now we are facing, as I mentioned before, these new threats like penguins are trying to make land development that are harmful for penguins close to penguin colonies, and that can be very harmful. So we're paying attention to these programs to make to purchase land acquisition, because that can help secure the penguins' places and colonies when they are breeding.
Pablo, congratulations.
No, thank you very much.
It's Pablo Borboroglu, the winner of the Indianapolis Prize. Thanks for joining us as we share the mission of the Indianapolis Prize, created to help conservation efforts with significant financial assistance and other support programs. We hope you've enjoyed learning about the world's top conservationists and ways that you can be part of the change.